Hello Lockaholics, this is Subsonic 1050 with another video. And for this video I'm going to be showing you some of the homebrew tools that I have made to help aid me in picking open these nasty little locks. I thought I'd start off with tension wrenches. And tension wrenches are something that I think is often overlooked. I have found that many times when I'm picking a lock and I'm getting no joy, it turns out that the tension wrench is a lot of times the problem. Of course, you know, if there's a really high pin that you need to set and you're not using a deep enough hook or something, that can also be the problem. But sometimes the tension wrench binds in the keyway improperly, or sometimes it's too much in the way, particularly if it's the bottom of the keyway and you're not able to get the pick in where it's supposed to be. So I have a whole assortment of bottom of the keyway tension wrenches, and most of these came with different pick sets that I have. I have some that I've just bent out of wiper blades. Everybody's pretty much familiar with that. There's really no secret there. You just take the wiper blade insert and bend it to whatever you like. And there's not really much you have to do with it. Here, this would be an example of a small one. I also have this one. Came with a cheap set. This is one of the ones I use all the time. This side, for whatever reason, just seems to fit almost everything, and it's a little bit thicker than the wiper blades. So this seems to work pretty well for me. On occasion, I use one of these cheap deals where the ends have been flattened out. I've ground this one down a little bit. This one I use in some American locks sometimes. But where the homebrew stuff comes in for me is really with the top of the keyway. And there are some good top of the keyway tension wrenches out there, most notably the Peterson Pry Bar. I personally do not care for the pry bar only because of the angle that it sits at. Well, that's not the only reason. I'll get into that, but the pry bar comes straight out, and let me illustrate that with this lock here if I can. Okay, so imagine I'm using this. This is a bottom of the keyway tension wrench, but if I put this in here like a top of the keyway, it's coming straight out the top, and this is awkward for me. I have to I'm sorry, I can't zoom out very far with this camera here, but this angle is awkward for me to pick at. I like to have my tension wrench so that I'm tensioning it like this. So like in this case, if I use this bottom of the keyway, it'd be more like this, and I can get in here with the pick better. So for that reason, I don't like the Peterson Pry Bar. So I thought I would try to make my own version of the Peterson Pry Bar, and this is what I came up with. This essentially was a Peterson Pry Bar, one that I made out of a stainless steel knife blade, a cheap one that I got from a dollar store. And I found some dimensions for the pry bar online, and I basically made a flat, if you can imagine this laid out flat, pry bar. And then I bent it so that when it's inserted into the lock, here I get the angle that I'm looking for. Honestly, I don't really even care for this, and I'm not sure. There's multiple reasons. One, if you can see this here, this tends to want to curl over as I put tension on it. It wants to roll over like that. I even tried, I saw somebody had suggested, putting this little notch here so that it can rotate in that slot a little bit, and so it actually be sitting on that shelf. It still doesn't work for me. The other problem I have with it is that it's too large, and it really gets in the way of picking that first pin. I can get all the other pins, but when I try to pick pin 1, the wrench wants to pop out. So what I did is I saw Kokomo Lock actually had some videos on making top of the keyway tensioners out of music wire, which is what these 3 are right here. And this is, I don't know if it's piano wire or what exactly it is, but you can order it on eBay. This is a diameter of 0.078 inches, which should be a great size for really any keyway except for absolute monsters. I've never seen a keyway that this wouldn't accommodate. And this is extremely tough stuff. I mean, it's actually even sort of difficult to cut. And it really is very strong, very tough, very durable. So what I did is I bent the end of these to a 90 degree with a vice grip, and then I either sanded or filed this down so that you can see that this is sort of rectangular. And if you want to see, an even better video on how to make these, Kokomo Lock had a video, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You bend it to a 90, file down the sides, and then for me, I put this bend in it here so that let me grab the one for these. When it sits in here, now I have the angle that I'm looking for. This is much thinner than this pry bar, and it gets in the way a lot less. In fact, I'd have no problem with this. Another problem I've seen with top of the keyway tensioners is that when raking, they want to pop out. And I don't do a lot of raking, but I have a little bit with these, and I haven't experienced that problem. So I've made these in a couple of different thicknesses of the end here. Not 15 minutes ago, I just made another one, this very, very thin one here, let me grab it here, accommodate this Yale cylinder that you just saw in a video. I got this from Flywheel, and I needed to use top of the keyway tension because this keyway is really giving me some issues. Actually, I just tried picking this. I'm still having issues that I can't get. I can tell there's some pins in there that need to be set deep, and I can't get a pick with a deep enough hook in there. So this thing is causing me a bit of trouble, but now I have a tensioner that fits this. Yeah, and that's one of the other great things about these music wire tensioners is that you can have a whole bunch of these things. They're very cheap, and you can customize the end to fit whatever lock you need. So those are the tension wrenches, and I want to show you some picks that I've made. This is a 15,000th inch wide pick, and this is made, actually all of the picks I'm going to show you are made out of feeler gauge. This happens to be 15 thousandths of an inch, and pretty standard hook here, but this is very thin and flexible and really able to get into a lot of these tight keyways. This is the one I'm trying to use on that Yale cylinder actually, but it's still not quite flexible enough to get around that warding, so I'm gonna have to figure something out there. But what I did was, and there's other people that have videos on these, but I start off with feeler gauge blank. This is stainless steel. They make these in carbon steel also. This one's already been cut down. This pick actually came out of this blank. You can order these from a company called Eastern Tool and Gauge, I think is the name, but you have to order them in considerable bulk, and I didn't really want to order that many. So McMaster Carr also sells these, and that's where I got mine. They were a couple bucks a piece, and quite honestly, the quality of the steel seems excellent. Weirdly though, some of these are really not exactly the thickness that they're supposed to be, which is their intended purpose, is to work as a feeler gauge, and a couple of these have been a thousandth off. But anyway, they work great for this application. I've been making mine in 3 different sizes: 15 thousandths, 25 thousandths. This is the most common size that I use. This seems to work well for just about everything. And then also 31 thousandths, and this is nice and thick. You can really pry on stuff with this, no worry of damaging the pick. So let's get on to the last bit here, which is really the reason why I haven't posted such a video before, is because I was actually thinking about possibly marketing the next thing I'm about to show you here. I thought I had an original idea, but like many of the ideas I have, it turns out it's already been done before, and probably done quite a few times. I just hadn't run across it. So here are some pick tips, and I had seen Bill's video on the quick picks, but that was for dimple locks, and my idea was a little bit different. So these picks are actually designed to fit into an X-Acto knife handle. So the shank on these is around 20.23 inches, I think it is, 0.235, something like that. And you just you make a pick. I've actually picked quite a few of these recent locks with this one. This is sort of a medium hook, and I have it fairly well polished, and it just fits into, sorry, this is kind of hard to do on camera here, but it just fits into the X-Acto knife handle just like a blade would. And this is an amazingly responsive handle. You really feel all of the little idiosyncrasies in each lock. You can really get all the feedback out of this. I've been extremely pleased with this. And I do have a few other, I've made a couple other hooks. The one I just showed you, this is a 25 thousandths medium hook. This is a 25 thousandths sort of standard hook. And then this is a 31 thousandths standard hook. And this thing is just a beast. And then I've also done my take on, if I can get this off the table here, like a Bogota worm rake. And this thing actually works pretty well. So those are the only ones I've made so far. I plan on adding to the set, but I also have an idea for adding a tension wrench to this, which there would be an adapter that would fit into the end of the X-Acto knife here, and the tension wrench, let me grab one, would sit in here sort of like this. I mean, obviously this isn't it, I haven't made one, but the tension wrench would actually serve as like a pocket clip, and it would be clipped in to the top of the X-Acto knife, and there would be a hole bored in the bottom of this side with a screw cap, that would serve as storage for a bunch of different picks. I do plan on trying to make a setup like that. An actual X-Acto knife will not work because the handle is the diameter is too small. They made it just big enough to fit one blade in the end of the handle, and so trying to fit more than one in the back will not work. So I'll have to actually make a new handle, possibly a new collet and ring to make that work. But if and when I get that completed, I will let you guys know. But until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and keep picking. Remember to keep it legal. Thanks a lot.